first question I have for you is, to you, like, what's the point of life?
What's the point of life?
What's the point of life? Easy question. I don't know. Right off the bat.
Super easy. Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I would say that the point of life is mainly, I think it's different to every individual, clearly, because everyone else lives very different lives, I would say. Everyone has their own little mindset, their own goals and desires, but I'm a faith-based man, so I would say the point of life is to spread the love of Christ.
Nice.
It's kind of what it all comes down to. I would say everything kind of funnels down to, that's the priority, is spread the love of Christ and point others to him. But I would say now that we're having our first kid here pretty soon, I would say that mainly just to leave behind godly children, I think, is like the newest perspective I have. Like my goal and the point of me being on this earth would be to leave behind godly children.
Okay.
And that's kind of something my dad had always talked to us about. He goes, you know, my only goal here on this earth while I'm alive is to create wonderful children, you know. And I kind of, now that we're having a kid soon, I understand that a lot more, the importance of that. So, yeah.
Do you believe in, going off of that, do you believe in like divinely guided purpose per se in like each individual's life?
Yeah. I think God's gifted us with different personalities, different skill sets, different mindsets, all to work together in, you know, a bigger fashion.
Right.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
I like that answer. If you had to start over tomorrow, so you're a contractor.
Yes.
Right? Contracting company.
Yep.
If you had to start over tomorrow, what would you do different in the first like 90 days of your company?
So start over to the day one of the company.
Day one, starting fresh. Yeah.
Okay. First day I filed as a legal business.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would have hired help earlier instead of trying to wear all the hats myself for too long. I got a little burnt out doing that. I was doing all the bookkeeping, doing all the paperwork, doing all the bids, doing all the meeting with customers to go over the bids, going to the lumber yard for material, dropping it off, and trying to perform, I would say 90% of the actual labor work on the home. So you're doing demo work, you're doing all that stuff, and you're trying. So I would say you're not very efficient when you're trying to do 12 things a day. And that is the biggest thing I think that cost me off the start, would be trying to do too much at once. And, I can tough it out, get up earlier, work longer. At the end of the day, you're still like, well, I didn't really get enough done, or you weren't efficient enough. So I would have hired more help earlier and taken that risk. And a lot of why I didn't was because I was scared. Hey, what if I hire someone? What if I hire someone and we go into a slow season and I can't afford to pay them? Someone's coming to me counting on me to pay their rent.
Right.
But they have a family, they're trying to pay groceries.
Yeah.
So a lot of that I was scared was, hey, this is I can tough it out, figure it all out by myself. But the minute I have a couple other employees count on me, I think it was a little bit of that. But I wish I would have taken that risk earlier, because it pays off like that.
Yeah. It is capital though. It's
100%.
To then get these jobs of guaranteed money, you then have to spend money to get get the money.
I would have done it day one, but I would not have waited as long as I did to bring on some help.
How long did you wait?
I waited at least a year until I brought on help.
And how far along are you now?
We're coming up on 2.5 years now.
Okay.
So it's been helpful for sure. And I mean, for big jobs, like, you can only do so much as a one-man crew. You can't go frame a massive deck, when you're trying to run these 40-foot beams by yourself. That's not going to work. Right. So there's some jobs that, hey, if I'm going to take this job, or if I'm going to bid on it, I better have help.
Right.
So yeah, I would have brought them on earlier. I wouldn't have done it right away, but I definitely would have brought some help on earlier. As long as they were, like you said, you have to have some money, just because if there is going to be slow seasons, there's no way around it. Business is business. There's going to be crazy seasons where you're booked like crazy, and there's going to be seasons where, hey, I hope the phone rings soon, sort of time. But that's part of it. So,
what do you think is the biggest pricing mistake that contractors make today?
Pricing mistake,
yeah.
I can't speak for other contractors mainly, but
like underbid, overbid.
Yeah, it would definitely be underbid. When I was first starting, you learn really quick. how to bid out a job. When you
How's
realize
that?
your paycheck
Yeah.
is dependent on how well you bid out a job,
Right.
you're going to take 1 or 2 whoopings and learn really quick what mistakes not to make again.
Okay.
When your salary is
Right.
dependent on that, you're going to learn really quick what not to forget next time.
Mhm.
Or, it goes into customers and the type of customers you look for. When you bid out a job, you're trying to talk with them, engage how they are, how they interact.
Right.
And you're not always going to get perfect customers, but you like to stay away from customers where you get that not a great vibe from,
Mhm.
because it'll just make your life pretty miserable working for them.
Can you elaborate on what that vibe is?
Yeah, I can try. It's mainly just if I show up to the house and the husband and wife are already kind of bickering on what they want done, and it's the back and forth of, all right, hey, so what color are we going to do here? Or where are we going to move this wall to? No, I want it here. No, I want it there. Actually, okay, hey, you guys are not close to ready for me to come in here and demo your house, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of stay clear of that. Or the biggest one I've learned is if I walk into a house and they want me to start that day, or I get told, hey, you were like the 10th contractor to show up. All the others are all terrible. You're the only one that seems like he knows what he's doing. That's a red flag to me.
Okay.
That's a red flag to me. Why
Why
did
is that?
9 other contractors walk away from this job?
That's a good point.
That one I learned the hard way. It's because first time I met someone, hey, we can't find anyone to do it. We want you to start immediately. We've been wanting this done. And all the other contractors flaked. There are bad contractors out there. Don't get me
For
wrong.
sure.
There's
So
people,
1 or 2, you can kind of.
but I was young. And it was in a slow season. So they're telling me, hey, the other guys have flaked. We've heard good things about you. We want you to start tomorrow, this and that. We got some money for you down. Let's go. I took that as a compliment. Hey, everyone else is flaked. My name got thrown in.
Right.
I'm young. I'm eager. And I needed work. I was in a slow season. So I happily took the job. And it was probably one of the least fun jobs I had, just because we got into it. I was still learning how to manage the jobs, and there were so many change orders, and I learned the importance of contracts. I had written contracts going into this. Here's what we agreed upon price wise and what's included in the original bid. If there's a change order, I have to share what it will cost, and they have to sign it before I do the change order.
Okay.
But these folks they challenged everything. They pushed a lot of, no, I thought you told me this. And I was able to point back to the contracts and say, hey, nope, actually, this is what we agreed on. You signed. But at the end of the day, they weren't very trusty people, I would say.
Right.
I felt like they were trying to take advantage of me at the end of the day.
Okay.
I don't know if it was because I was young, brand new.
Right.
But I learned that, and I talked to a few other contractors. My previous employer that I worked for, he was a general contractor, and he's a mentor to me now. He down in Caldwell, Idaho.
Okay.
And I called him when I was first starting this company. I called him every week just with a list of questions. Hey, in this situation, what did you do? In this situation, what would you do? And he was the one who shared with me. He's like, hey, starting off, you can't take every job. And some of the red flags are if people say, hey, we've tried so many contractors, you're the only one.
Right.
And that job, I learned a lesson on that job.
Would you suggest that if someone was going to get into creating their own company, general contracting, would you suggest that they get a mentor? Meet someone?
100%.
Okay.
You're going to want somebody, and I had one. My dad was not a general contractor, but my dad's always had businesses. So I had him, but then I also had my previous boss, Jeff, and he is a general contractor for custom homes.
Okay.
So I had both. One that was great. Jeff was great in the business world and in the contracting world, and my dad was just another reference in business in general. So 100%, you need somebody in your corner to point you in the right direction, or you're going to learn some very valuable lessons in the hard way. Don't get me wrong, I still learned some lessons the hard way, but you're gonna just some legal stuff. What if someone goes in and what if you get into, at first I didn't really think on small jobs I needed contracts, right? Yeah. Hey, small job, it's only $5,000, $7,000. It's not a big deal. And both of those people, my dad and my previous employer, said, I would not walk through that door and swing one hammer until everyone has signed a line explaining the cost of that job and what is included in that job price.
Right. What's not included.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hey, here's what my insurance covers. Everything is in the clear, right? Hey, you are not to walk in this construction zone if I'm not here. You are not to touch anything if I'm not here.
You don't get to do your portion, your DIY when I'm gone.
Yep.
Right.
So that saved me, I would say, because like I said, there's a few times where, miscommunication does happen, but I learned very quick that one of the main things that you have to work on in construction to be successful is your communication, because it's going to cost you either your reputation, because there was times when I was, like I said, when I was the first, I would say 3 to 5 months in on this, I would get into a project and there would be something I forgot to ask or bring up, in the bid. Hey, what were we going to do here? So I had to eat the cost, because I took that as my fault, which it was. They hired me as the professional, and I didn't do a good enough job clarifying what was included in something. So, for example, this happened, and this one, obviously, it didn't cost me a lot, thankfully, but it was just a good reminder. Got into a remodel, wrote out the whole bid. They were on a tight budget at the time, but their bathroom was in horrible condition. And
did they give you like a number amount for that type budget?
No, they just, I went there to do the estimate, and it was like, hey, money's tight. We need a new shower and tub. The subfloor was rotten. So it was like, repair the subfloor, put new floor in. But for example, like light fixtures, vanities, and the toilet, they said, no, keep those, take them out, put the flooring and put everything back in. So in that contract, I wrote everything up, customer states they want to reinstall light fixtures. Customer states they want to reinstall the original vanity and original countertops.
They're going to install it.
I would.
Yeah.
I took it out, but I said so I wrote in there that customer states that they want it reinstalled.
Oh, okay.
Original one reinstalled. So it's very clear, like, hey, none of this price includes all it is the labor to move, right?
Yeah.
Well, I forgot to write in there that customer states they want to reuse existing toilet. So we took the toilet out, set it outside, and customer came home and, hey, why is that in there? I said, well, you guys had said that, you wanted to reuse it just like the vanity. No, I thought we told you that we wanted a new toilet. Well, I had no contract. I went back to my contract because I thought I'd written it in there. I'd written the vanity, light fixtures. There's the door. They wanted the original door in there. Well, I forgot to mention that. So that one cost me, thankfully, only $100. But that was a lesson to me, the importance of writing things in contracts, and having that to fall back on. Yeah. But imagine if that was a bigger thing. What if, the cost of material these days, and to hire my guys to go out there and fix things, you can make a costly mistake very quickly these days. Right. So I learned that early on, thankfully.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
What system or process have you found that have like saved you time and money, energy through the company? So whether that be like, a schedule or some kind of program or like a routine, anything like that.
I would say 2 things come to mind right away. That would be obviously a calendar. I'm old fashioned. I like stuff written down.
Yeah. Just on the wall. Yeah.
I don't like things on my phone calendar.
Right.
I don't like that.
I'm not really about it either.
I like it. I have a big planner. And it has the months in there, and I can write, every day what it has. And so you're going to get a lot of phone call what I do, you get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, lots of things you have to keep track of on what to check in on. Did this get ordered? Did this get shipped? Call this customer back, things like that. So anytime I have something like that come to mind, you write a note or reminder about it on that page. And then I can also see the whole months in upcoming months. You can schedule things in. So that's a must. Because if you don't have that, you're going to forget stuff. You're going to forget to call someone back. Yeah. And I think all my customers have always said the biggest thing to them is communication. Even when things go sideways, which you're going to have a subcontractor that messes something up. It happens, but it's how you handle it that they're going to appreciate. That's what will make or break your name, and is what I believe, at least. So it all goes back to being organized, which is the importance of that calendar for me. Right. And then also my accounting software. It does all the accounting for me. It does all the bookkeeping. And I can upload receipts, fuel receipts or a receipt for a lumber yard through my phone. And then it goes to my desktop as well. It saves everything digitally. It tracks all your month spending, your revenue, it just tracks everything super easily. You don't have to have too many pieces of software. It's kind of an all-in-one. Right. So that saved time immensely.
Yeah. So for like general contractor, both of those things you think are like a must.
Yep.
To have.
Yeah. The right software. Invest in the right software.
Yeah. What do you use?
I use Xero.
Okay.
It's called Xero. It's kind of like the same as Intuit.
Okay.
But yeah, it's called Xero. And it's a great software. So
okay, cool. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So I know you're a veteran. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yep.
We appreciate that. What was that like, being in the military and running a business at the same time? Like, that sounds kind of hectic. And you were married, right?
And I was married, so it was absolutely hectic. So I served 6 years in the Army National Guard, and I joined in 2019, straight out of high school. We got married 2 years after that, so we were pretty much married for 40 years I was in. And we were living in Idaho for those 4 years.
Nice.
But I was also stationed up here in Washington. So when it was our turn and our rotations to train during the months, I had to drive up from Idaho every month to here. And then running the business, it was a lot. I liked the struggle, but it was definitely a little too much. For the issue I ran into the most was we would get into a remodel. We start tearing apart a house, and I'd get a call, hey, you guys are getting put on orders, in 3 days, and you're gone for 3 weeks. I just tore apart someone's house.
Right.
And I'm having to explain to the customer, hey, and this was early on when I couldn't really leave guys unsupervised. I had to be there to make sure that they're doing everything properly. So it's pretty much that was really tough, trying to swing that and make everyone happy, because no one wants their house torn apart and then being told, hey, we'll be back in a couple weeks. Right. So that made it really difficult to try to plan around it, because they give you a rough training calendar for the military, but at the end of the day, we're activated multiple times. There's always orders that you're going to be put on that weren't planned for. So those kind of out of the blue calls cost me customers, because I would call them, hey, look, like one time I got a call, we were supposed to be starting a job within that week. Same week I got a call that we were going to be put on orders for 2 to 3 weeks. Well, I called them and said, hey, here's the situation. I can gladly push you back. Thankfully, I hadn't started the job. Or you can just go with someone else. And they were more than understanding. They just said, hey, nope, thanks for letting us know. And it was fine, but it makes it a huge pain on, because if I push them back 3 weeks, people after them are 3 weeks behind. Right. So that's a lot of phone calls that you have to make. And everyone is trying to make new plans around what I originally gave them dates, and now I'm changing those dates. So it gets really messy really quick. And then, it was just being in the military and trying to run the small business. It was a lot. Very stressful. Very stressful. If you're out, are you familiar with Yakima Firing Center at all, towards Sela?
I know Yakima.
Okay, yeah. So there's a big Army base out there.
Okay.
Big Army base. And so we did a lot of training out there. So we'd be out training, and I'm trying to make phone calls to subcontractors, and it was just not efficient, not doable.
What was your favorite part of the military?
All the guys. I met some hilarious people. We have some great stories. The things we did, you do some pretty cool trainings in the military, but you're going to have some lifelong friends that, you meet through the military.
You're just there together for weeks on end, through everything.
And most of the time, you're probably doing some pretty crummy things together, so you build more relationship. Like, you kind of embrace the suck together. It's kind of the motto of the military, is you just embrace the suck.
That's wild.
Pretty much anytime you get told to do something, hey, embrace the suck, just get it done.
What's kind of the best way to handle a client who's constantly changes their mind? I know you gave some examples earlier of some of that going on, but someone that's, say you didn't write a contract and you're working with them and they're like, oh, I want this, I want that. Like the example you gave of the couple, right? But you do go and you do take that job. Yep. And then what's the best way to handle that?
If you don't have a contract? Because if you have a contract, you're just going to learn really quick that there's nowhere to fall back to of, no, we talked about this, and it gets into a he said, she said between the customer and you.
Right.
And you hope that you can civilly,
without the law getting involved.
Yeah. Because one, if you go into a house without a contract, there's no proof that they owe you any money. You could get down to the end of the job and
Yikes.
expect, a check of $20,000. And they say, for what? Where's your contract? You cannot go to court. You have nothing to prove. You just gave them a free remodel. So one, you really are asking for problems if you don't have the contract. But if you do have the contract, you have the original bid that shows, hey, we're trading your money for my skill set, basically, is what the contract shows. And I think it's a lot simpler. I think at the beginning of this journey, I made it more difficult than it had to be. I think it's as simple as, hey, we're in the middle of remodel. Hey, Cole, I'm actually thinking I want this wall, moved over here instead of there. Perfect. I'll say, hey, I will work on getting you a change order for that. And I will get that over to you as soon as possible, whether it's that night or the next day, simply because without them signing that change order, we're stopping in our tracks. We're not doing any more work.
So the change order.
So the change order will share what the change order is. Hey, customer wants the wall from the previous agreed upon location to this new location.
In the contract.
Yep. And that price is X, right? Hey, this change order that they just asked for is $1,200, right? Mm-hmm. For just the labor or whatever else needs to happen to get it moved. Customer has to sign, contractor, myself has to sign. Once that's signed and I get paid for it, they have to pay. Even if they sign it, I don't move forward unless I'm paid for it. So
when you do those change orders, you don't add at the end of the project. You say you ask for payment of each change order as you go.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So I usually do 50 on the remodels. I'll do 50% up front.
Okay.
And then 50% at the end of the job.
Okay.
Change orders are due immediately. And that's the best way I've found.
Yeah.
Because
do you ever feel like your clients are opposed to that?
No.
Pretty
because there is no wishy-washy. Like I said, I've learned to over communicate. Hey, I will gladly move this wall. Remember, we agreed to this price. It's going to cost me to move it. And, and they all understand.
Right.
The reason I like to charge immediately for the change orders is at the end of the deal. It happened. I did it twice where they got sticker shock. They'll sign it. Oh, sure, whatever. Add it to the tab. Sign, add it to the tab.
Right.
Wait, how's it this much? I thought,
that makes sense.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I like everyone being on the exact same page, even though they signed it and they knew but at the end of the job, they kind of forget. And I like to just over communicate, be on the same page.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What are contractors most misunderstood from client's perspective? So a homeowner, and you guys start business together. What's the one, what do they underestimate? What do they misunderstand the most about the whole process?
I would say, not necessarily I haven't had this issue with, but it's just more of the thing you kind of hear on the street, would be that contractors don't work not hard enough, I would say long enough days, because one, we do, but it's, hey, they don't see that we've been up since 5 trying to get material loaded. They don't see us working at the shop. They don't see us going to, the lumberyard early. They don't see us finishing up another job early in the morning and then not getting to their house till 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, my guys have been working for 4 or 5 hours already, another job. And then we showed up to your job, and that's during busy seasons, and hey, you guys were only here for 6 hours today. Well, they don't see that we're bouncing around trying to, and it's a tough game to play because you don't want to be the guy that takes on the job and only works 2 hours, 5 hours a day sort of thing. You want to, and part of my contract states that I will prioritize your job once I take it. I'm not going to start it and take a week off and come back for 3 days and take a week off. But there are times where one of my guys, they'll have to pull off and go finish something else.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you find a lot of your jobs kind of intersecting into each other, kind of like this? Or is it more like blocks, like you have this job comes in and you're just trying to knock this whole thing out, then it's the next job, then it's the next job?
I will always try to completely finish a job before I start another job. It doesn't always work that way.
Right.
For example, something's delayed. If this happened one time with one job, we had the flooring randomly, the flooring got there, the pallet, it was a custom flooring we had ordered, completely damaged. Went to pick it up. It had been backed in. I think someone with a forklift backed into the pallet. So I go to pick it up.
Yeah.
And all the boxes, are
Smashed.
pretty much smashed. You can use like 1 or 2 boxes. And I was supposed to be finishing that job within the next 2 days to start my next job.
Right.
So I told the customer, hey, here's what happened. Your flooring's ruined. I'm getting it taken care of. I will let you know when this is going to be in as soon as I know.
Mm-hmm.
As of now, I'm going to clean up your bathroom. I'm going to get out I'm going to take the trailer from the job site. I'm going to clean it up. I got to get going on the next job. I will finish this once I get, your flooring back in. So from there, I contacted my next customer and said, hey, I'm going to start yours early if that's okay, which they're always happy to get their project started early. So like that situation happened. Well, then I was in the middle of that next job when the flooring came in. Well, I had told the customer, hey, I'm going to start yours early, but I'm probably going to have to peel off for a couple days to finish this. I explained the situation. So it all comes back to communication.
Right. Communication is key.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Could you tell me about a story in your life, for better or for worse, like the most impactful moment you had in your life? Maybe you've had a couple, but like any of them will do. But one that really like, motivates you to be this kind of person, or one that's like, I will never do that thing again. It doesn't even have to be related to contracting, but just something that made you the person you are today.
I would say a lot of it goes back to my parents. I have to point back to my parents as a childhood. It wasn't necessarily one thing. It was more of just going through my childhood. I would say seeing how hard my parents worked. Like I said, my dad, he always had businesses that he was buying or selling or building. So I saw the hard work involved with that. And then my mom, she worked tremendously hard at her job too. So I would say a lot of it was it was normal for me to like to do hard things. My mom and dad were never 9 to 5 people. Hey, clock in, clock out.
Right.
Sort of thing. It was always, hey, not that they worked themselves to death, but they
always busy.
They worked hard. Yeah, they worked hard. So I was kind of like, when I started this, I could have easily gone and worked for someone else, brought a tool belt and, worked for someone else and clocked in, clocked out. But for me, I said, hey, I like construction. Why not try to start my own company? Why not try to do this thing by myself? So that I think is what it goes down to, is I just saw my parents kind of do that. So for me, it was, hey, it's my turn to try to struggle, running a business.
I have a similar story. My parents, they had 9 to 5s when I was younger and growing up and stuff like that, but eventually started getting into more businesses. My mom's always been an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And my dad and her would join in some companies, and we're pretty successful at a couple. And that sent me down the road of a 9 to 5 is really nice because you clock out and then you can do whatever you want, and like the world's your oyster.
You're not taking work home with you.
You're not taking work home. But then there's this ever elusive idea of like, I can be my own boss and like I can take my lunch break whenever I want and take time off. And in reality, that's not really how it shakes out.
No.
So I've owned a small business before, and I've helped a bunch of small businesses open, been there when some of them have closed, and it never really stops.
Yep.
And you can take a break whenever you want, but when you take a break, everything takes a break, and then you come back and you still got the same problems.
Yep.
You can't just check out and like come back the next day and now you're on the clock. Like the successfulness of the business is how many hours you put in, essentially, and it's a hard road, but there's pros and cons to both.
There absolutely pros and cons to both. And it all comes back to the person who you are, how you're wired.
Yep. For sure.
There's people who are more than happy with a 9 to 5.
Yep.
Just clock in, clock out. I'll tell you what, their stress levels aren't near as high.
Nope, they're not.
They're pretty happy, but just some people like myself, I like to struggle.
Right.
The grind that goes into it.
Right.
There's some days where, I'd love a 9 to 5.
Right.
But at the end of the day, no. I like the struggle.
Right. And it can really pay off. It's the thing is like, you hit a ceiling with a 9 to 5.
Yep.
But because you get the pro of just not being at work when you're at home, you're okay with hitting that ceiling versus the other option, being an entrepreneur, doing businesses, whatever, you can continue to break that ceiling. It's glass ceiling. You can continue to go higher, which again is equal to your hours and your sweat, blood, tears.
You bet on yourself.
But yeah, exactly.
You bet on yourself as a small business owner, which I like.
Yeah.
My success is mainly dependent on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not always. Yeah. There's things that happen, but mainly my success is dependent on myself.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like to bet on myself.
Yeah. I'm similar. I'm similar. And I think I've had a lot of business ideas and creative ideas that haven't worked out quite the way I wanted them to, or I'd hoped, and maybe I'll touch back on them later in life. But, it's just one day at a time, really, when it comes down to like an entrepreneurial mindset. What can I do today, and how can I further, and how can I get mentors, advice, get better, things of that nature.
Yep.
So, which is pretty cool. Do you think, is technology helping or hurting contractors, like with the, innovation of AI per se? That's the hot topic everywhere. I mean, or any technology in general.
I would say from what I've seen, I personally don't have I haven't used it yet. I haven't gotten into the AI or really any technology services, but I've seen it help a lot of people in two separate ways. One, you have an AI service that does bidding for you. You can take a video of a room. Like I said, I haven't used it. I don't know how accurate it is, but you can kind of video whatever is going on, and you write in there kind of the context of what needs to be done. Hey, new shower, new floor, new vanity, paint the walls, boom. Or, whatever you need to do. And it's supposed to give you a rough idea of the labor that's involved.
Right.
Into, hey, this is roughly going to take one man, 56 hours to complete. Boom. And that helps you. If it were me, I would, write my own bid and then do that and compare, like, hey, how many hours did I think this is going to take compared to that? But I haven't gotten into that. At this point, I've gotten good enough. I know what things take. But that one I think is probably helping. That probably would have helped me out at the beginning when I first started this, when I was first learning to bid.
Right.
Because you forget stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other, I would just say the AIs. And then the other one that I've seen that, like I said, I haven't used it, but it's like a theme creator. So it'll help if a customer wants something done, but they're not sure exactly how to complete the full project, right? Hey, I want this over here. I don't know what color, or what would it look like? Or if they're indecisive on, hey, would I rather have the wall over here or over here? You can take a picture of the room and kind of crop the walls and move them and get that. Like I said, I haven't used it, but I think that'd be a wonderful tool.
Yeah.
Because you can give the customer multiple options of what everything looks like in their living room. Not, okay, hey, we're going to paint it whatever color. We're going to move it over here. You're just going off that they know that they're going to like it.
Right.
So that tool is one that I know is a huge benefit.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, AI is that whole hot topic that it's like, one of my good friends thinks that it's a bubble, like the .com bubble, and that it's going to pop, and that it's going to basically disappear. I mean, the internet didn't disappear, right? It only grew.
I don't think it's going to disappear.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
No. I don't think it's going to disappear. I know that I'm not worried about my job being taken by AI.
No. Never a long, long time.
I don't see AI doing plumbing or electrical or residential remodeling or any of that. So I'm not too worried in that.
Not in our time, anyways.
Not in our time, no.
Until it gets to like iRobot, you ever seen that with Will Smith? Yeah. Until it gets to that point, which is like, Jesus might return before that, or
hopefully,
hundreds of years from now. I don't know, but that's not anytime soon. So that's cool, man. Do you know any? Have you noticed any like market trends or where the market might be kind of going with, I don't know, styles of home or kind of set, where things sit?
No, actually, I would just say no to the styles. Everything is very much client based. The remodels I have done for clients are all drastically different in the styles that they do. Whether it's, a younger couple wanting the modern farmhouse, white and black kind of color scheme, or the family that loves beige and casual. So I would say there's not something, we don't see remodels being all modern farmhouse sort of vibes, right? I would say it's all completely different, which is nice.
Really?
Now, they're not things necessarily styles I would always do in my own house, but it is fun seeing something else and doing something else and creating what they want. That's that. Yeah.
Really? So is there any trends anywhere else in kind of what you do as far as like, how to go about certain projects or how to build certain things, or is it all just really change per circumstance?
Yeah. Per circumstance, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's never one job that goes 100% planned, and there's never a job that's the same as the last, ever. And that's why I enjoy it.
Yeah, Yeah.
There's always going to be an issue that you have to be a quick thinker, think on your feet, and problem solve.
Yeah.
90% of my job, especially in remodels, you open up a wall, you have no idea the last time that wall was opened up, meaning was it wired in the 50s?
Right.
Well, if I see code issues, I have to take care of that. Things like that.
Right.
There's always, hey, we're going to move this wall. Well, now we just, we opened up the drywall and there's water lines. There's electrical that should not have been ran there. So now we're, okay, how do we reroute these things? So,
because you have to. Once you see it, you have to. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you touch anything, like if I do a bathroom, I got to make sure that tub and all that is up to code plumbing wise.
Right.
Yep. So,
because otherwise it falls on you.
Liability is all on me.
Yeah. Last contractor that kind of touched it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And if anything is going to be touched, with my name on it, it's going to be up to code and it's going to have warranties and everything.
Right.
Something I would do in my own house.
Yeah. So you would also suggest that to anyone who's listening that wants to do contracting, make sure it's up to code, make sure it's quality, 100%. Guaranteed.
Yeah. I like the phrase, always work like you're working for Jesus.
Yeah.
And that'll test you.
Yeah, for sure.
On a Friday afternoon at 4:00.
Yeah.
When you're trying to wrap up your tools and something happens,
yeah,
that is going to really define what kind of contractor you are.
For sure.
There's been multiple times where it's like, and to be realistic, it's probably going to be 30 years until this is opened up again. What's the big deal?
Right.
Yeah, probably. These homeowners are going to be moved into another house by then. Someone else will be in here. They won't know who did this remodel. But you know what? What are the odds that something leaks and this has to be opened up in 3 months, right? I'm going to make sure it's done right. And the liability comes down to if something's not up to code on the plumbers and, the liability is on them, not my insurance.
Right.
So our insurance companies have to work parallel together. And that gets tricky when it comes to contracts, and we don't have to necessarily get into that. But at the end of the day, it's all on my shoulders. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like the final question I have for you is, if there's like a 25-year-old that was listening to this and wanted to start a long-term, highly successful contracting company, what advice would you give them from the get-go? Like you said a lot pertaining to the mistakes and stuff like that.
Yep.
But like, what's the one big overarching piece of advice you'd give?
I would say easily it would come to the finances. Move it at the beginning, especially. I won't speak down the road so I would say off the beginning, move at the speed of cash. You are going to be much safer and a much better space when you go into February and you have no remodels on your books, right? And you're a little slower. Well, do you have a brand new Duramax with a $1,200 monthly payment? Do you have a payment on your tool trailer? Do you have a bunch of credit card debt from buying $10,000 worth of tools to stock your trailer to start with?
Right.
So what happens when you have no remodels for a month at a time? You're trying to pay yourself so you can pay your own mortgage. The company is always going to have bills. The company has their debts, right? So I would say move at the speed of cash. It's not sexy by any means.
Right.
You're not going to get the prettiest truck right away or
but
move at the speed of cash, and that's going to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And eventually, hey, keep biting off a little more and a little more until you build up enough capital. And then you can say, I'm not anti-debt 100%, but it's all circumstance based.
Right.
If you're starting something off, especially in the first year to 2 years, you're still brand new at it. This can go up in flames tomorrow.
Right.
So at some point, if you have enough cash flow, you have enough capital in your bank, there's nothing wrong with, let's say I was in heavy machinery operating, right? I mean, a backhoe's $100,000 these days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's going to take you a minute to save your pennies and write the check. So if you have enough cash flow and things are safe and you can say, hey, if our payroll, or not our payroll, if our books go dry for 3 months, every employee is still paid, every bill's still paid, myself is still paid, and this company's still alive, it's all risk management.
Right.
And I would just say,
that's wise.
Take very little risk off the beginning when it comes to debt. Now, I would risk other things, like I said. So when I started this company, I didn't have another job. I just went, my wife and I told her, I said, hey, I want to start this. I want to be a business owner. I didn't, hey, I'm going to get another job and build this on the side until I can go all into this. I went all or nothing.
So sweat equity is what you had to.
So I risked not having a paycheck, but because I was betting it completely on myself.
Right.
You know, and if I would have taken out, you know, a huge loan on the nicest truck, right? All the construction guys have to have
Well, I've noticed, yeah.
all the fancy stuff and whatnot. That would have got me in trouble 100%
For sure.
the first year. Because slow seasons happen, and they did for me.
Mhm.
But thankfully, everything had been paid for with cash, and I was okay. So I would say biggest thing is don't go in debt when you first start off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Easily.
Sweet.
So.
Well, yeah, you give me a lot to reflect on. Go through this interview. I think, I mean, it reminds me a lot of Sojourn Metal Works in the shop here. Very similar journey. Sean started off in a really tiny shop, and then he kind of moved into here. All of us did. And I started in like estimates and kind of the admin role and talking to clients and then going and doing installs, measuring all the stuff, basically everything but the actual welding part. But during that time, just seeing a lot of things that you're talking about, a lot of like, we need to sign the contracts. We need to make the contracts. Customers, you know, you're the only reliable ones. We've talked to all these people and, you know, a lot of that. And then we just came up with this quote the other day. We're at a site, the one they're currently working on, which is this giant structural beam holding up a bearing wall on a house. They want an open room. So took out this bearing wall, and it's what they're finishing right now. But it's this, I don't even know. We had to put it into 4 16.5 foot giant C channel. And then they're all getting welded together. And it's just this massive beam, you know, 200,000 or 2,000 plus pounds to hold up this ceiling, you know, hold up the roof. Anyways, came up with this quote that was like, we don't make mistakes. We just learn lessons. And, it's a sexy way of saying, like, you're going to constantly hit walls. You're going to constantly make mistakes, but are you taking those mistakes as like, oh, I failed again. I'm not good enough or blah, blah, blah. Or are you going to make those into the first couple of mistakes we made? I'd be with Sean and they'd be a big bummer. And then I would just joke and be like, hey bro, we're just learning lessons. And I knew that's not what he wanted to hear. Yeah. But I wanted to like bring some humor to it. But now it's really become like a motto. We actually even thought about naming like this podcast, Learning Lessons. Anyways, I also want to give the audience a chance to reach out to you if they want to know where to find you, contact your company, email, phone number, socials, whatever you want to share with them. Yeah, you can go ahead and share.
You can find us on Facebook, Belton Construction LLC. And then can you list things in the notes of the podcast?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, so I will share the email and my phone number. If you guys ever have any questions or want to reach out and things like that, that will be listed in the notes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And everyone listening, do us a huge favor, share this episode, give us a 5-star review, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thanks for joining us. Cole, it was a pleasure having you on. And this is the Sojourn Metal Works podcast. Thanks, guys.